Hey, welcome back everybody. This is Ian, and in this video we're going to work through this simple problem here in JavaScript. You can use whatever language you want, but for the solution I'll go ahead and do it in JavaScript. This is kind of a question of the day that we shared on the community Discord, and so I just wanted to have a solution video for any of you that attempted the problem. So the prompt is to create a class called GradeCalculator that helps calculate a student's final grade and determines if they passed the course. The requirements for this is that each student has a midterm score and a final score, and both of those are graded out of 100 points. The midterm counts for 40% of the total grade, and the final exam counts for 60% of the total grade. A student passes if their total grade is 60 or above. So this class that we're going to write should have a constructor that takes the student's name, and it should have methods to set the midterm and final exam scores. Additionally, it should have a method to calculate the final grade and have a method to determine if the student passed. So let's go ahead and get into it. So we know that it's going to be a class. We know that it's going to be called GradeCalculator. We know that we have the logic that we're going to use inside of our methods, and we know what type of methods we need to have. So let's go ahead and start with the class keyword, and we'll say class calculator. And then we will, trying to zoom in just a little bit for you there, have our constructor, which will take a student name, and we'll do a this dot student name is equal to the argument that gets passed in whenever we first initialize a new grade calculator. So student name. And then we do have some values that are not passed in when we first instantiate the grade calculator instance, but they are going to be necessary. So we need like a starting point. So those are going to be for the midterm grade and the final exam grade. So let's go ahead and do a this dot midterm score. And because these are not being passed in directly, we're going to go ahead and preface them with an underscore. Let me go ahead and save this so it'll stop yelling at me. And we'll go down here back to our code. All right, so we have our midterm score. Of course, this is going to be initialized to 0. And then again, we'll use this underscore syntax just to indicate that this is an internal variable, private. The outside world is not passing it in via the constructor. So this next one is going to be our final, we'll call it final exam score is equal to 0. And I guess since we're calling it a final exam, we should also call it a midterm exam. All right, so now we have those initialized to 0. And the next thing we want to do is create some getter and some setter methods. So we're going to say set for our midterm exam score. And this is because it's a setter, it's going to take an argument here of a score. And then we'll set this dot, and remember we have access to this up here. This is our midterm exam score. So we'll go ahead and set it equal to whatever the score is that gets passed in. Now this is a setter, so we're not going to actually return anything to the outside world. And in fact, we'll create a getter method. Notice the name of the method does not have the underscore before it, and it's not going to take an argument. However, it is going to return the midterm exam score property. So what we've done is we've taken this, sorry about that, we've taken this internal state right here for our midterm exam score, and we've made it a part of the public API for this class by exposing it via this getter method. We also give the outside world the ability to give us input so that we can set the value or update the value for the midterm exam score. So what we're going to do here is just repeat this logic for the final. Okay, so I'm going to fix that, and here we're going to change this to final exam, and we don't have all of our fun key binding, so bear with me here while we update this. All right, cool. So we have a setter for midterm exam score and a getter for midterm exam score, and we have a setter for the final exam score and a getter for the final exam score. So that takes care of the methods to set the midterm and final exam scores. Now we need a method to calculate the final grade. So let's refer to the requirements with regards to how the various grades are accumulated to generate the total grade. So final grade and total grade are going to be synonymous here, but we know that the midterm counts for 40% of the total grade, and then the final exam score counts for 60% of the total grade. So if we were to have a method that calculates the final grade, and let's go ahead and call it, we'll call it final grade, that's fine. So we're gonna have a getter method here, and we're gonna call it get final grade, okay? And it's going to utilize these getter methods to access the internal state of this instance. So we're going to say something like this dot, and we want to first access the midterm exam score. Now we know that it's only going to be valued at 40% of the total or final grade. So we're going to take midterm exam score times 0.4, and we could say 0.4. That will give us 40% of its value. And then what we'll do is we'll add that to this dot final exam score. And then what did they say? That was going to be 0.6, which is the same as 60%. So 40% of the midterm plus 60% of the final exam is going to be added together to get the final grade. Okay, so all we have to do here is just return this number. So we're going to return this dot midterm exam score times 0.4 plus this dot final exam score times 0.6, and that will be our final grade. And then what we need to do is figure out whether or not the final grade is a passing grade. So let's head back up to the requirements here, and it says that we need a method to determine if the student passed. And a student passes if their total grade is 60 or above. So what we can do here is we can say get, and we can say did pass, and then we can say if this dot final grade is greater than or equal to 60, then return true. Else, return false. And yes, you can use a ternary operator, or you can use you could use a double ampersand. There's a bunch of different ways that you could do this. I like to be more explicit when I'm working on more entry-level, beginner-level algorithms and coding exercises. So I like being explicit in most cases and more verbose because I think it's easier to read and understand. So that's right. That's the reason why I like to use if statements over some of the more succinct syntax that you see, like ternary operators. Cool. So we've got a method here called didPass. And you could call it whatever you want, pass check or is passing. In fact, whenever we're dealing with Booleans, I do like to use is as the first word. So is passing, I think, is good because it indicates that what we're getting back is going to be a Boolean value, true or false. Okay. The other thing that you can do to make this much shorter, not using a ternary or anything like that, is you could literally just say return, get rid of all this dot final grade greater than or equal to 60, because this in and of itself, because we're using a comparison operator, is going to return a Boolean value. So if the final grade is greater than or equal to 60, it'll return true, and if it is not, it'll return false, and then we just return that out of the function. So that is kind of a nice one-liner without having to use any sort of if statement or any sort of ternary or anything else. So I'm okay with making it short like that because it still reads really nice. This dot final grade greater than or equal to 60. It's either going to give us a Boolean value or true or false. Okay, so I think we have everything we need. We just need to test it now. Okay. And so let's go ahead and write some test code here. So we're going to create a, we'll just call it calc is equal to, and then what do we call it? GradeCalculator or something like that. GradeCalculator. Okay, GradeCalculator takes a student's name as the only argument. So we'll just make that student's name Jane. And now that we have the instance, we can say Jane dot, and let's first do Jane's midterm exam score. And because it's a setter, the way set syntax works is that you can use the equal sign, even though we defined a method and it looks like it would take an argument. Really, the way it works is you are binding the instance property to this method, and what we end up with is the ability to use the equal sign to set a value directly on the midterm exam score property that we bound to. In this case, the one with the underscore prefacing it. So here we say calculate, or calc for calculator, dot midterm exam score is equal to, and we'll say 75. And then we'll set the final exam score equal to an 85. And then we'll do a, we do want to console log the output of checking the final grade, right? So we'll do console log calc dot final grade. And this is a getter method, so we don't need to use open close parentheses or anything like that. We just call the name of the method. It binds to dot final grade, and it returns a value from the logic inside the method. So this is going to give us back the final grade as a number. And then again, we can console log calc dot is passing, which will give us the Boolean. So I think at this point, let's get this out of here. I thought it was saving automatically. I guess not. And let's jump over to the console, wherever that is. Clear this out. And what is it yelling at me for? Cannot be invoked without new. Thank you. Very important. Here I said calc is equal to GradeCalculator without the new keyword. Of course, we want a new instance of the GradeCalculator. So JavaScript was kind enough to let me know. So 75 and 85, the final grade is 75 times, we just do the math, 75 times 0.4, throw this into parentheses, and add that to 85 times 0.6 is equal to 81. And so here we see 81, which of course is greater than or equal to 60, in this case greater than 60. So this individual Jane is passing. So let's give Jane some lower scores. So we'll do like a 65 and a 55. And when this updates here, we can see that this got us just below that 60. So now we have 59, and is passing is now returning a Boolean of false. So that is it for the GradeCalculator JavaScript class problem that we shared on the Discord community server. And I'll go ahead and share this link in the server, obviously, so you will all have access to the JavaScript solution. And if you have a solution that's different than this or in a different language, we'd love to see it. So make sure you share it in the solutions thread. Thanks a lot, and we'll catch you all in the next video.